Let's talk about Star Wars.
Now, when it comes to Star Wars, most people pretty much dismiss the prequel trilogy, and that is understandable. But the way I see it, there is some good ideas, but they're hidden in a boatload of flaws. But it is a good thing that we have other forms of media to expand on those good ideas. Or at least the ones that are still canon.
I have an example of the expanded media right here. Star Wars Bounty Hunter for the Nintendo GameCube. It takes place in between episodes 1 and 2, and you play as Jango Fett. Can it pull some good out of the prequel trilogy? Well, let's find out.
So after the Star Wars standard opening text scroll, we open on Count Dooku's ship, where he's getting a message from the Emperor. Darth Sidious is upset that a criminal organization known as the Bando Gora, run by former Jedi Komari Vosa, is becoming more and more of a threat to his plans. He is also wondering why Dooku didn't take care of her when he had the chance.
As an experiment,
the experiment has failed.
Well, that depends on how you look at it. From where I'm standing, the experiment was a success.
This deranged former Jedi has no place in my vision for the future.
A future that I envision to be magical.
Anyway, Count Dooku also asks the Emperor what his plans are for the clone army. Darth Sidious explains that he needs a suitable host in order to create the clone army, and suggests that Count Dooku look into the world's most deadliest mercenaries.
I shall accomplish both of these tasks with a single stroke, Master.
Yes.
And I expect you to take care of these problems both quickly and discreetly.
Meanwhile, we cut to a space station where we see a space armadillo fight taking place. And hey, we get to see what the Clone Wars narrator does in his spare time.
What a contest this is turning out to be!
But little do they know that one of the armadillos is being controlled by this character, Miko. It also seems that Miko has a price on his head, so Jango makes his move. Jango is voiced by Temuera Morrison, reprising his role from the movies. And here he is making one of his epic entrances. However, Miko grabs his controller and uses his space armadillo to attack Fett, separating him from his jetpack. This gives Miko ample time to escape, leaving Jango to deal with the crazy space armadillo. And of course, this leads us into our gameplay. That's right, you start off against a mini-boss. I don't see any problem there. I'll give more detail about the gameplay later, but in the meantime, let's look at the game's story setup. After we escape the arena, we go to the market where we retrieve our jetpack. We then follow him to a loading dock where we take out his ship and finally capture him, ending Chapter 1. We are then introduced to Jango's business partner, Roz.
Well, isn't that nice?
No, not that Roz. This female Watto creature, voiced by the late Lucille Bliss, known for her role as Miss Bitters in Invader Zim. Roz has received a message for Jango.
Greetings, Jango Fett. I am Tyrannus. I have a proposition for you.
Dooku says that he has a bounty worth 5 million credits.
5 million? Wow, that could make you for life!
However, when Count Dooku reveals that it's the leader of the Bando Gora, Roz suddenly becomes hesitant.
No bounty hunter who set out after the Bando Gora has ever returned.
Jango asks Roz about what she knows about the Bando Gora.
It's a very secretive organization. They're everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
Huh, so it's like the Force.
I heard they're behind the new Death Stick craze.
Okay, why is a former Jedi involved in drug dealing? Heck, let's expand on that. If drug dealing is an important issue in Star Wars, then how come the Sith is not involved in this? We may be evil, but drug smuggling? That is a step too far.
Roz notes that there's a small-time Death Stick dealer on Coruscant, and Jango decides to start there.
I've got a bad feeling about this one, Jango.
Now we know it's Star Wars.
We are also introduced to a rival bounty hunter, Montross, voiced by Clancy Brown, known for his work in SpongeBob SquarePants, Superman the Animated Series, and of course, Star Wars. And here we get our first impression of him.
I'm worth more alive! You're worth enough dead.
Well, he seems nice.
And here we see that Montross has also received a message.
Decoding now.
Greetings, Montross. I am Tyrannus. I have a proposition for you.
You know, this kind of makes me wonder, given the large number of bounty hunters, I wonder how many times Count Dooku had to repeat the same message.
Okay, that one's finished. Moving on, number 52. Greetings, IG-88.
Okay, plot setup out of the way, let's talk about the gameplay. And oh boy, where do I start? Well, how about these camera controls?
A GameCube game with bad camera controls? Oh my god!
Seriously, this is like the third game in a row with an awkward camera. So what's this game's deal? Well, one slight turn and oh, there he goes, better follow him! Seriously, I'm getting dizzy just looking at this. And since the camera turns so fast, I keep bumping into things, and sometimes fall into pits. Now you can lock onto enemies, which can hold the camera in place in order to focus on them, though the camera turns around very fast in order to face that enemy, although you can't turn in this mode. And I guess that makes sense. I mean, sure, when you're shooting someone, you don't want to be facing away from the person you're shooting. Now, since you're a bounty hunter, you obviously have a large array of weapons to use. First off, you have your iconic dual-wielding blasters. And since this is Star Wars, they have unlimited ammo. One thing that is frustrating is that in order to fire rapidly, you have to repeatedly press the button. If you just hold the button, it fires in between like 1 second long gaps. One thing that is worth noting is that the pistols have kind of an auto-locking function. They can automatically lock onto a person that you're not even locked onto. This could either be harmful or helpful, but it depends on the situation. You can switch between different weapons by going left and right on the control pad, or you can just press down on the control pad, which brings up the weapons sub-menu. Convenient, but it does take you out of the action. The other weapons include a flamethrower, which can come in handy when you're being ganged up by multiple opponents. You also have your classic Kung Fett fighting style.
Because everyone knows that Jango Fett is known for his punching abilities.
Okay, that's cute. Anyway, you also have a rope which can tie up and temporarily incapacitate enemies. Oh yeah, and then there's also the scanner. I'll come back to that in a moment. Other weapons you use have limited ammo, but they can be replenished through collectible items. These include the grenades, the rocket launcher, and the toxic dart. Yeah, you remember, that thing that Obi-Wan Kenobi obsessed over for half the movie? And since normal weapons can only cause an enemy's hit point to reduce, a toxic dart can instantly kill an enemy, presuming he is not made of metal. You also have a sniper rifle, which you can use to scope in and take out distant enemies, though the scope is very sensitive. You can also pick up other weapons throughout the levels and you can use them against the enemies. However, these have limited ammo usage, and once you run out, you lose the weapon.
Man, Star Wars weapons are confusing. I mean, some have ammo, some don't need ammo. I mean, where do you even put in the ammo if they run out? I mean, where do you even buy the ammo? How do they find it?
Well, apparently you find them lying on the ground. And all this will get even more confusing when the mounted guns use unlimited ammo. Now, halfway through the first chapter, you retrieve your jetpack.
Because you can't be the father of the greatest Star Wars character ever without your jetpack. Otherwise, you're just that guy in the weird helmet.
You can use the jetpack to hover over the ground as well as cross small gaps. You can also use it to reduce your fall damage. However, the thing to remember is that you have a limited amount of fuel. If you run out of fuel, then... It is also worth noting that the flamethrower can drain the jetpack's fuel as well. Anyway, whenever you are not using the jetpack, it automatically replenishes the fuel, so it is best to use it sparingly. However, there is a power-up that you can use to help lengthen the time you use your jetpack, but they only appear in certain areas. Now, you wouldn't be much of a bounty hunter if you didn't, well, collect bounties. And this is where the scanner comes in. You can use it to scan enemies and NPCs to see if they have a price on their head. Then you can either kill them or use the rope to tie them up. Then press the action button to collect their bounties. The amount of money you get depends on whether the NPC is caught dead or alive. It is a pretty good concept, but try finding one bounty in a sea of enemies all shooting at you. And this is not like the detective mode from the Batman Arkham games. The scanner takes up its own weapon slot, so you have to equip the scanner, go into scan mode, move the crosshairs over the NPC to see if they have a bounty on them. And all of this leaving you completely defenseless. Seriously, you can't even move out of the way of attacks. You have to stand completely still. Oh yeah, you can only scan them when they're alive. Now if there's enough distance between you and the enemy is not shooting at you, then this is fine. Trying to catch one in a firefight, well, good luck. Luckily the secondary bounties are optional, so most of the time I just ignore them. Oh yeah, and in case you didn't figure it out, this game is hard. You have to keep yourself moving, flipping, jumping, and jetpacking in order to try and avoid getting shot. It's the kind of game that keeps you on your toes, and that is good. It keeps the game from getting boring. It forces you to try out other weapons and tactics, because you can't rely on your blasters alone. Because the deeper you get into the game, the harder it is to kill the enemies. For example, this game has enemies that frequently gang up on you, as well as those that can shoot you from far away, and even some that have rocket launchers. And don't even get me started on the wild animals. Trust me, you are going to die a lot in this game. And let me tell you, no matter how much fun this game can get, it is always annoying whenever the enemy gets you in the middle of a fight. Especially when it's from a bullet off screen! At the very least, some of the enemies without prices on their heads can drop health packs. But you still need to go and get them, so good luck trying to avoid all the blaster fire. You know, it is a shame that this game doesn't focus on any stealth mechanics. Stuff like that can be pretty helpful when you're in a room full of armed enemies. I mean, shooting people is fun, but it would have been fun to also try and outsmart an enemy. And this game does have plenty of examples where you can do that, but they're few and far between. Another thing that can be frustrating, climbing ledges. These moments are annoying. Whenever you climb across a ledge, there are sometimes these gaps that come in between them, and then you would have to jump across to get to the other one. You may also need to drop down to a ledge below you, or use your jetpack to get to a ledge above you. And then there are times when you need to jump onto a ledge that's behind you. And you can imagine how difficult this could be, especially with the camera controls. Another problem is the platforming sections. Here you need to use your jetpack to cross along different platforms. This is hard enough, but then you have a bunch of enemies shooting at you. You can imagine how big a problem this is, especially with the game's camera controls and the lock-on feature. Every time you die, you are offered a continue option. This allows you to start from your current checkpoint. Also, the enemies you killed stay dead, with a few exceptions. However, you only have 5 continues, and once you run out, you have to restart the level from the beginning. You can imagine how frustrating it is to be forced to reset a level after you make it to the boss. You know, one time I killed myself right after I respawned from a continue. Boy, did that get me angry. Probably the best thing about this game is the story. Throughout the game, Django goes to several different places in the Star Wars universe, like Tatooine, Coruscant, even an asteroid prison. And as Django continues on his mission, we learn more about his backstory as well as his rivalry with Montross. And it's pretty interesting. It is good that the game goes into more detail about Django's character than the movie did. And even though the tone of the game is mostly serious, it does have a good sense of humor.
I'm getting a lot of interference. Must be the asteroids. Either that or I'm losing my hearing already.
Well, you've still got your looks.
This junk dealer, Watto, knew I had a friend in your line of work. Poor sap. Lost everything in a pod race last season.
You also run into other recognizable characters and aliens from the Star Wars franchise, like those Sebulba creatures from the pod race, Tusken Raiders, Jabba the Hutt, and of course, Zam Wesell. You remember her, the bounty hunter that tried to kill Padme at the beginning of Attack of the Clones?
Yeah, she was so interesting that no one remembers her name.
The voice acting for the game is also good, for the most part. Most of the cast, including Tamora Morrison, are fine. The only exception is Zam Wesell. She is voiced by Leanna Walsman, also reprising her role from the movie. And, well, enjoy.
My plan didn't include you trying to hijack my prisoner.
Isn't it about time you tell me what or who it is you're after?
I'm not leaving until I collect my reward.
Oh sure, you get to have all the fun.
Yeah, I know. I saw some of them lurking around. They give me the creeps.
Well, no wonder Django killed her in the movie. She's so wooden that she puts Hayden Christensen to shame.
Another disappointing factor of this game is the bosses. Sure, some of them may look impressive. Heck, one of them is a dragon! How do you screw that up? But overall, they're pretty mindless. All you need to do is just keep shooting and move out of the way of the attacks. And sometimes don't even attack you that much. The only boss that I feel has any strategy to it is the Chapter 2 gun boss. First, you must shoot out its turrets, then use the grenade launcher to bring it down.
Now is the time I need to talk about the end of the game. And if you don't want any spoilers, I will put a timer down on the bottom of the video.
So after we leave Zam in a Tatooine prison cell, why you ask? Because she couldn't stay patient. Seriously, watch.
I'll be back. Trust me.
Trust you? I know what you're doing. You're gonna go after Voser alone, aren't you? I thought we were partners, Fett. Guards! Guards!
Well, after all of that, we contact Roz, only to find out that her space station has been taken over by Montross, and by the time we get to her, we are too late.
Get out of here while you still can. See you on the other side. Django!
No! You can't die now! We barely got a chance to get to know you! Seriously, she has a great personality, and yet we know next to nothing about her. We don't even know how she met Django. I'm seriously kind of upset about this.
Farewell, Roz. Your short existence will not be in vain. So we head off to our final coordinates, Kolma, a moon of the planet Bogdan. This level is dark and has a very scary atmosphere. It is also filled with Bandogora. These guys are like a zombie horde that swarms you, and one hit from them can take away a third of your health. However, they don't have the ability to jump, so you might want to stand on something when you kill them, and don't forget about using your flamethrower. And if the herds of charging Bandogora are not enough for you, there is also tar that can damage you if you stand on it. There are other Bandogora soldiers that can snipe you from afar, and some that have experience with the bow staff. And of course, there's everyone's favorite platforming segments. And you know what makes this even more challenging? You have limited ammo, and pickups are scarce. At the end of the final chapter's first level, we have our final confrontation with Montross.
You and me, man to man, face to face. Only now we do this to the death. May the best man win.
I am the best. Always was.
We'll see about that.
It's actually a pretty decent boss fight, but nothing too special. One interesting aspect is that if you lose the battle against him, a cutscene plays depicting a what-if scenario. So we finally defeat Montross.
It's not supposed to end this way. Not like this. I deserve a better death!
Don't be a sore loser.
So instead of killing him honorably, Django instead decides to leave him to the Bandogora, where they eat him, I guess.
Finish me!
Because when I watch Star Wars, I'm always thinking that it needs more cannibalism.
Anyway, after more platform jumping and Bandogora killing, we suddenly get hit by a dart, and we can't get up despite still having health. At first I thought this was a glitch, but turns out this is actually part of the game, with a cutscene depicting that we actually got captured by the Bandogora. And we finally come face to face with Vosa and... Oh god, this outfit.
Man, who knew the Sith was so into S&M?
I'm not even kidding, I mean, what's with this skimpy outfit and... Oh god, is she sitting on his... What is going on here? I don't know if I should be scared or aroused.
I mean, is this what people think of when they think of female Sith Lords? Oh yeah, forgot about that. Never mind.
Anyway, before she could extract any information, we suddenly have an unexpected visitor.
Zam, how did you get here? Seriously, how did she get here?
Last time we saw you, you were in a cell on Tatooine. How did you escape? How did you get a ship? How did you even know where to go? Anyway, she tries to take out Vosa, but her dual lightsaber skills are too much for her. However, before Vosa can finish her off, Zam frees Django from his shackles, and he picks up his guns and starts shooting Vosa, forcing her to retreat. Okay, now you're just showing off. We need to find Vosa through these creepy corridors. All the while, Vosa taunts you from the shadows.
I can feel your presence.
Like I said before, this is very atmospheric. Just walking through these corridors gives me chills down my spine. At the end of this level, we finally find Vosa, and now the boss battle begins. And it actually is a pretty good boss fight. Much better than the previous ones anyway. And I definitely had some trouble with this one. Okay, that's just mean. You can only harm her when she's moving, because when she is standing still, she can use her lightsaber skills to deflect your blaster shots. She can also knock you down, forcing you to lose time getting back up. But at least she is honorable, otherwise why doesn't she just strike me when I'm down? You just need to keep her chasing you and then shoot her while you quickly get out of the way of her attacks. So in the end, despite some cheap shots, I persisted, until eventually I was able to take her down.
Which will it be, bounty hunter? Dead or alive?
Django decides to be the bigger man, but...
He is here.
Well, dead then.
Congratulations, bounty hunter.
Whoa, when did Count Dooku become Batman?
No ordinary man can defeat one trained in the Jedi arts, especially one trained by me. I thought she might one day prove a valuable ally. Instead, she became a liability.
Oh well, I'm sure your next apprentice won't give you nearly as much trouble.
Count Dooku reveals that he knew exactly where Vosa was the entire time, and Django wonders why he didn't just take her out himself.
To find you. This contest brought you to me.
So instead of taking her out personally, you run the risk of her growing stronger in the vain attempt that someone who likely has no connection to the Force would be able to take her out. You know, this was a great plan.
I shall accomplish both of these tasks with a single stroke, Master.
Oh, no wonder this plan was convoluted. Darth Sidious should know that Count Dooku should not take things so literally.
Django asks for his reward, but Count Dooku has a counter-proposal.
If you'll come with me to Camino, to be cloned.
Well, do I still get the 5 million?
Imagine an army of clones. They will be magnificent, perfect warriors, like you.
But more importantly, think about all the potential you could have for the online gaming community. I mean, you could be your own LAN party!
Django accepts, but under one condition.
I want the first clone for myself, unmodified.
Well, we do have to set up the original trilogy after all.
Count Dooku accepts the deal, and they both shake hands. And so our game ends with Django carrying Zam to his ship.
So, we're going to split the bounty 50-50, right?
Don't push your luck, Zam.
You could have given her the money since you don't need it anymore. Jerk.
Hey, now that the game is over, we can take a look at some of the extras. Like a comic book, trading cards, concept art, and even a gag reel.
Let's check it out. I cannot unsee that. And now, neither can you. Anyway, this game is, well, a mixed bag.
Don't get me wrong, I had a lot of fun with this game. It has a solid storyline, an immersive atmosphere, and fun, fast-paced action. However, the missed opportunities, the sensitive camera, the difficulty spike, and that clunky bounty hunting system are just too much to ignore. Elements like this really keep this game from being something truly special. But despite all that, I can't really say that I didn't get any enjoyment out of it. In fact, I actually recommend this, especially to Star Wars fans. So if you're looking for some mindless laser-shooting, jetpacking Star Wars action, then this is definitely a bounty worth hunting.
I'm the Redshirt Reviewer, and thanks for watching.